Hey dancers, last week I posted this video right here asking you guys which exercise you thought best targeted your hip flexors and your hamstrings to improve that retiré. Let's get into it. Our first exercise is our banded march. We're going to take this loop band we've got here, or you can use a TheraBand, that's the long one, and tie it in a loop to create the same effect. We're going to place this band underneath our feet, like so. I find one of the most common mistakes with setting up this exercise is that people actually place it around their ankles. You want it underneath the arches of your feet. Then we're going to place our hands on our hips with our spine nice and tall. We're going to lift this leg up into this 90-90 position and lower it back down. Lifting it up and lowering it back down. Keeping that movement nice and controlled, both on the way up and the way down. You can create it as an alternating exercise, which creates more of that march. Great, now we've looked at how the exercise works, let's jump into the muscle lab to see what the muscles actually do. Welcome to the muscle lab. This is Gary, my assistant, and we've been asked to look through the muscles involved with our banded march. So we have 4 major muscles that help with hip flexion and then some secondary muscles that also assist. But let's look at our 4 main ones. I use the acronym RIPS. Our rectus femoris, iliacus, psoas major, and sartorius. They're our 4 major muscles involved with hip flexion. Okay, so what other joints are moving in this exercise? Yes, we have a little bit of knee flexion. So we are working our hamstring muscles, which there are 3. So there's our biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. But notice how our legs are only in 90-90. This means that we're not using optimal knee flexion and therefore not using the most of our hamstring contraction. The second exercise has a super duper long name. It is called a banded hamstring curl with hip flexion. I like to call them ponies because I feel like it has the same action as when a horse gallops or a pony gallops. It's like that. So let's get into the movement. So this one, we're going to use our long TheraBand. We're going to tie a knot around one ankle. Like so. Make sure it's nice and tight so that it doesn't come loose when you're exercising. Then, I like to stand on the band about hip width distance apart, but you'll find what's right with you with the resistance of the band you have. Now I'm just going to turn to my side just so you can see what I'm actually doing. Alright, so we talked about how the last exercise the knee came into a 90-90 position. Now we're going to look at how the knee actually creates a shorter ankle in the second exercise. So the knee comes up, but notice how the heel stays in line with the bum this time. So coming up and down, coming up and down, coming up and down, coming up and down. So some of you may have guessed that this one helps more because we are going into more of that retiré position. Let's jump into the muscle lab and see which muscles are actually working in this exercise. Welcome back to the muscle lab. Now we're looking at our ponies, otherwise known as the banded hamstring curl with hip flexion. So, looking at this exercise, we have the same muscles as before for our hip flexors. So, as our knee is coming up, we are using our rectus femoris, our iliacus, our psoas major, and our sartorius, our main 4. The adductors help with hip flexion, but these are our main 4 that we use. Then we're looking at our knee flexion again, but because our leg is going into more of knee flexion, so notice how it's not in that 90-90 position anymore. Now we're in a more of a 45-degree angle, depending on how much range of motion you have. This means that we're working our hamstrings harder, our biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. This means this exercise is more optimal for increasing your retiré height, as retiré height not only comes from our hip flexors and raising the knee, but it also comes from raising the foot up into that higher retiré. So what have we learned today? The first exercise. Yes, great for helping with retirés, but it only targets the hip flexors. The second exercise not only targets the hip flexors, but it targets the hamstrings. That way, when the teacher's like, can you lift your retiré higher, which I got all the time, your hamstrings are actually the ones doing the work there. So, if you're wanting to get a higher retiré, I would suggest both, but mainly the second one, as it targets two muscles at the same time. And it's always good to target more, especially when you're more time crunched. As always, like, subscribe, and comment down below which exercises you need help from. Say bye to Cooper.